Well, the news about Marathon keeps chugging it along. We recently got some more information about the minimum PC specs for the closed alpha coming on April 23rd. The game director Joe Ziegler says that this game is not going to be for a lot of people who already play Bungie games. And a confirmation of a 2023 leak shows how much of a drastic change Marathon went through over the past 2 years. And a gameplay director points out a fundamental flaw right now with Marathon. So if you want to know everything, make sure you stay tuned throughout the whole video to understand all the details. So as we know, guys, Marathon's closed alpha release date is on April 23rd and will be running until May 4th. Now we do know that Marathon's alpha will be on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox, but the PC side of things also can be very interesting as we've seen so many games out there really push the envelope when it comes to performance and scalability out there, where you have to rely on DLSS and frame gens to get competitive frame rates. But it seems like for the PC side of things that this is going to be a rather light game for a lot of people to get a chance to play. As reported here by Marathon Bolton over here on Twitter, you can see that the requirements on this are actually relatively light, notably needing an Intel i5-6600 or an AMD Ryzen 5 2600, 8 gigs of RAM, and an NVIDIA 1050 Ti or a Radeon 5500X, which is kind of surprising to see such low requirements when it comes to this game, right? And also only 4 gigabytes of video RAM, which again, this is the minimum specs. We haven't gotten the recommended specs quite yet, but this is kind of the benefit of the art style choice that they made with Marathon, right? Have these more simplistic shaded type of colors and designs that it actually requires the players, especially on the PC side of things, which has the biggest potential of growth, right? But the mass majority of gamers as a total are on actually PC, and recently in the last 5-10 years or so, they've recognized how important a PC market is, right, to grow your game out there. And so seeing that this kind of art style allows people with lower end PCs to be able to jump in and play and be competitive along with their console brethrens. And this is one of the things I think is a total example of choosing art style over fidelity, or for graphical fidelity in a way, I guess I should say, compared to a game like, say, Stalker 2, where this game looks absolutely phenomenal, but definitely it's difficult to run, where you need frame gen, you need DLSS to make sure your game is competitive and running well. And in a YouTube video from Dr. Lupo, he talked about his experience with the performance of the game, saying he's playing the game with like, I think it would say a 4080 was what he was playing with at 1440p with just natural resolution and getting 140 plus frames while playing, which I think is going to be amazing for a game like this, right? So I think choosing this type of art style, not only is it look really awesome, but it's also very functional to the game. They'll make it more accessible to so many more people out there, especially on the PC side of things, where that's where the extraction shooter has really lived for the longest time. Yeah, there is a Hunt the Showdown, which I think is like really the only popular type of extraction shooter on console. So this is where Bungie has an opportunity to really reach out to a larger audience, and I think something like this, have a lower PC specs, will be very beneficial for them. Now we've got a lot of discussion about people asking like, what is this game for? Who's this game for? Like, we don't really know, right? But of course, that's coming from a lot of people I think who are not really big extraction shooter fans. But this quote right here from Joe Ziegler, the gameplay director, really talks about, I think, what this game is about and who this is for, saying Bungie's Marathon is not a game for everybody. I think if you're looking forward for PvE experiences, definitely Marathon is not the game for you. We are comfortably saying, yeah, it's not a game for everybody. This is a game for if you like PvP experiences, especially in a sandbox space, then this is probably something you're gonna enjoy. Now, the reason why this has been a bit of a discussion that's going online right now is because it's not really like the best way to present this game, right? Just saying like, oh, it's not for you, right? Well, you want to try to get as many people to play this game because Sony definitely has invested a lot of money into Marathon and Bungie as a whole, and I'm sure Bungie really wants this game to succeed, and to be able to do that, you need a solid player base and try to figure out ways, well, yeah, if you're a Destiny player who likes pretty much PvE, we do have that in the game, but we also have to take in consideration it is PvP. Now, I do think Joe Ziegler was being like brutally honest in this situation, where I don't think a lot of PvP Destiny players will like Marathon, or a lot of just PvP arena shooter people from, like, say, the Crucible from Destiny or Halo fans will like a game like Marathon. But there are going to be mechanics within the game itself that I think will find some type of aspect of it that they will enjoy. So I think it could have been just like a conversation on the fly within an interview and kind of been like, yeah, wish I said that better, but that's kind of being brutally honest with the situation. I don't know how you guys feel about that quote, but for me, I get like kind of reassurance, like, good, I'm glad that they're not trying to rehash Halo or Destiny mechanics. They're trying to make something that is unique for a Bungie studio experience and bring in, say, like the extraction shooter to a large player base with a large budget on especially console and also a lot of on PC. But as myself, as an extraction shooter fan, especially with the DMZ game mode and also a little bit with Delta Force, I am incredibly excited about this game. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm someone who loves Halo, who loved playing Destiny back in the day, and seeing this, I'm very excited about it. So yeah, you might be a Destiny player, and I was mainly a PvE player when it came to Destiny, so I'm saying like there are people out there who played this game, played Destiny for PvP, played Halo for PvP. Like, you're gonna like this game if you like this type of style of extraction shooters. Now, there was an interesting mechanic that was showcased within the original reveal trailer of Marathon that is nowhere to be seen when it comes to the recent iterations of the game. Like, remember this counter that was a big focus in the original reveal trailer of Marathon, guys? And then now we just don't see it anywhere within the recent gameplay reveal and other types of content we've been seeing out for Marathon. That's because this actually involved a persistent world mechanic that was actually reported on years ago that I talked about here on the channel, and it was confirmed that yeah, that leak was actually real. And honestly, it was kind of a really big disappointment for me when I saw the reveal of the game and this mechanic wasn't in there at all. In a report here from Insider Gaming, it talks about a lot of the information back in June of 2023, this was soon after the initial reveal, that one of the systems in the game was kind of controversial, and that being the oxygen system. And basically what it led this to be was that you had persistent worlds, similar to saying like those Destiny open spaces, right? Think of like the Cosmodrome from Destiny 2, but you actually have loot and PvP happening at the same time with PvE. So it's kind of like that kind of original idea, which I thought was gonna be such a cool, unique idea, which, there's other games out there that do a persistent type of world, like Gray Zone Warfare, which is a game I've played a bit and I had my fun with it. But the thing is that it has a persistent world, right, with 3 different factions fighting at the same time, so with PvE and PvP. It's rather well paced, a little bit slower, a lot more tactical, a little more hardcore of a shooter. And also that the thing is like making that comparison with a game like Marathon to say Gray Zone Warfare, it's like Gray Zone Warfare is still in very early access a year after the alpha early access launch. So I think they're still like in 0.3, so like they haven't even got a fully realized game out yet to make that true comparison about the different types of mechanics. But I had fun playing this game, and I think having a persistent world would have been a really cool, unique experience. And it recently revealed here on Twitter that Marathon was originally built around a living world server type of concept, confirmed by Joe Ziegler and things like that, about basically saying like, yeah, you kind of drop in and out of the persistent world, which is such a cool, unique mechanic that we haven't really seen in an extraction shooter for the most part. But then apparently it wasn't fun at all. Confirmed here by Luke Hidden Xperia, who's been playing the game for quite a few years now at this point, saying FYI, this version of the game was not good. It might sound good on paper, but the version we have now is leagues better, signed someone who actually played the game. So it was a bit of a disappointment for me to hear that like they dropped that type of mechanic, but if it's for the better experience of the game, I'm all for it. I even replied to him on Twitter saying, thanks for sharing, Luke. Hearing this persistent world being, taken away was kind of a bummer when I first saw it, but if it doesn't work, I understand it. And he did say like, yeah, I get why people like the idea of a persistent world. I've been playing hardcore DayZ player since June of 2012 with thousands of hours in it, and I totally understand. But trust me, with an extraction shooter, it just didn't work. And frankly, unless they went full DayZ open world, I don't think it ever would. Now, could that come down to design philosophy, and maybe they could have made it work if they really just tried to rework how the game functions? There's definitely different ways that could have gone about this, but I trust Luke's opinion, right? He's a hardcore Tarkov player, loves Halo, loves DayZ as well, and said that this version of the game is much better than what we potentially had with the persistent world, which I think would have been a really cool innovation, would have really helped it stand out a bit more. But if it's for the better of the game, I totally understand it. But really what I'm trying to say here, guys, I got the details. I do my research online. I try to bring it to you guys in the video. So if you want to catch the latest and greatest, make sure to subscribe. Let's get right into the last story here. So I'm sure many of you know that Marathon currently at this moment does not have Prox chat because they were afraid that it'd be too toxic And I don't think anyone has a good solution yet when it comes to bringing it into the game right now. Now, a lot of content creators I've seen have watched this. Pretty much everybody out there has said Prox chat's very needed for a game like Marathon, just because there are so many different situations that can come up when it comes to playing this game that would lend itself to having the need for social interaction with people. In a recent interview with Astacross, a YouTuber here known for his Destiny content, talked with Andrew Witz, the gameplay director for Marathon, about a situation that where Prox chat could be very useful. But I think Andrew Witz kind of talked about the situation where, like, an exact situation where you would need Prox chat to be available in the game, because other than people would just be shooting each other. For a little context, he's talking about the situation where, like, the final exfil is there, the timer has run out, 2 squads are fighting for over that last exfil, what happens? And then some unique situations come up, but this is where Prox chat's very needed. Let me play the clip for you.
It's really exhilarating when the UESC are, hailing bullets down on everybody who's trying to get on the last train. And you also get these moments where the 2 squads may fight at first, and then you actually have, like, whoever's left alive that's not down, like, jumps in together and take the same train because they, like, don't want to, like, dumpster all of it. And so it gets all those kind of stories. The whole purpose of this genre really is to create survival stories, right?
Sure.
That happen across different players. And so that's why we're making the choices we are.
Exactly. That exactly right there. That's exactly what we're talking about when it comes to needing Prox chat. If that's any other kind of situation out there, people would just be shooting each other, right? I had this happen all the time when it came to DMZ when I was playing that mode that does have Prox chat. And the great thing about it is that it lends itself to have such unique different types of opportunities where you're interacting with other players to have a social experience while playing the game. And so having something like Prox chat would be very needed in, like, those last situations, like, hey guys, let's just not kill each other and so we can all extract with the loot, right? Because that's ultimately what the gameplay is all about when it comes to an extraction shooter, is that loot. And being the last person standing, it's not always the goal, right? It's not always the end result, right? So having something like Prox chat would be so needed and so helpful for an experience like this. So, I mean, that just highlights to me, like, Prox chat, it's going to be needed in this game. Now, the developers definitely know about this. Every single content creator's talked about this as well when it comes to what does this game actually need. So they are aware of this. And I think once we get to the close alpha playtest and eventually the beta, I think there'll be enough outcry for Prox chat that something will be available. At least give us, like, the toggle option, right? If you don't want to hear that toxic chat, if you don't want to hear anybody talking to you, well, then just toggle it off, right? I mean, that's something I do all the time in Call of Duty, because, like, in the Battle Royale, you don't need that Prox chat, right? It's fun, get some, trolling kind of moments, but oftentimes when you have Prox chat on in a game like say Warzone, you're going to get some, well, not unwanted chatter, right? Which is, be real with that. But in a game like extraction shooters, you're going to need that, right? For one, communication with your team, but also with the enemy team to kind of see if, like, hey, if we can work together instead of trying to kill each other the whole time. Because it's not about being the last person standing. It's about getting out with all your sweet, sweet loot. Now, I will be jumping in and playing the closed alpha, guys, so make sure you follow the channel here to join us with the journey here with Marathon and the community that we've built up here, guys. So I'm really excited about this game. Cannot wait to jump in and play on the 23rd here of April. I'll definitely let you guys know my honest opinions about the whole thing. So if you guys want to stay up to date, make sure you tap that like, subscribe. If you want to know who the real ones are that made it to the end of the video, give me a yellow heart for Marathon on this one, guys. And I'll catch you on the next one. Peace out.